Last summer, I discovered a strange house floating in the ocean. I was 32, a marine biologist, trying to find some peace after a bad breakup. I rented a tiny cabin in Eldra Bay, right by the water. Each day, I studied the ocean patterns and tried to clear my head. Yet, that house still haunts me. It began with a perfect day. The sun was hot as I paddled out in my kayak. The water was calm and smooth. I felt relaxed, maybe too relaxed. Then I saw it. On the horizon, there was a house just floating there. It was old, with peeling paint and dirty windows. My first thought was that it was an illusion. I kept paddling closer. My heart raced when it shimmered, fading in and out of focus, almost like it wasn't really there. I rubbed my eyes, but the house remained. I tried to dismiss it, calling it a trick of the light, but it stuck in my mind. I couldn't shake the sight. For days, I found myself thinking about that floating house. At night, while working late, I heard strange echoes coming from its direction. At first, I thought it was just the wind, but the whispers became clearer. I kept glancing up, expecting to see movement behind those dusty windows, but it was always just shadows. I brought it up to some locals, but they changed. Their faces looked uneasy. I could feel their tension. They would say, "Best to leave it alone," or "Nothing good comes from that place." I began to feel like I was pushing too hard, but the house called to me louder every day. Then the ocean changed. The water turned icy, colder than July should be. I felt uneasy as I paddled out again toward that house. The sky darkened suddenly, as if a storm was rolling in from nowhere. I looked back at the shore, but I couldn't turn away. I had to know what it was. As I paddled closer, I caught something in the window. A figure? I squinted, trying to see better. Just then, a lightning bolt crashed, and everything blurred. I blinked, and it was gone. My heart sank, and I felt sick. I couldn't shake the fear. I was out there alone, and the echoes grew louder. It felt like someone or something was watching me. I turned around to look behind, but the house loomed out there, still floating, still watching. I was completely alone, and I couldn't figure out why it felt so foreboding. The next day, I decided to leave Eldra Bay. I packed my things quickly, but even as I drove away, my mind stayed with that house. I didn't understand what I'd seen or why it felt so wrong. I tried to forget, but I still can't shake the feeling that something waits for me out there, hidden in that eerie, floating house. The road out of Eldra Bay twisted through thick woods, leaving the sea behind. I tried to focus on getting home, but the house loomed large in my mind. Its presence clung to me like salt in the air. As the sunlight cracked through the trees, I felt a strange pull beneath it. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself back in my lab, poring over ocean current data.
But every chart or report felt meaningless. The floating house haunted me, especially when I lay in bed at night, unable to shake the whispers from that stormy day. Then, one evening, I received an email that made my pulse quicken. It was from a graduate student I mentored, Sarah. She wrote about a study she was doing on underwater acoustics. Just as I was about to dismiss it as routine academic chatter, one line stuck out. "I think I found something strange on the sonar." My curiosity piqued. I sent her a quick reply. "What did you find?" She responded almost immediately, her words brimming with excitement and concern. "I was analyzing data from Eldra Bay. There's something off about the underwater readings. It looks like, well, something unusual, maybe even man-made?" My stomach flipped. The house floated above the water, while beneath it, something strange was lurking. I asked to see the data and begged her to meet me, but all she could offer was a screenshot of her sonar findings. That night, I sat at my kitchen table staring at the screen. The image showed a dense patch of shadows, irregular shapes clustered in the depths, almost like the ruins of ancient structures. I nearly jumped when my phone buzzed with another message from Sarah. "I think it could be connected to that house you were looking at. Others have said it's been seen in the area for decades." My heart raced. Other people had seen it? My mind churned with questions. Who else knew? What was beneath the surface? Obsessed now, I spent a restless night poring over everything I could find about the house and its history. I stumbled across old newspaper articles, stories of disappearances, warnings about the cursed structure, and whispers of rituals that took place long ago. Each article added another layer of fear. As dawn broke, I made a decision. I needed to return to Eldra Bay. I had to get to the bottom of this. I couldn't walk away, not now that I knew there was more beneath the surface than just seaweed and sand. On my drive back, anxiety swirled inside me like a storm. What if I found something I wasn't prepared for? What if the house was indeed cursed? I took a deep breath, pushing those thoughts aside. I forced myself to focus. When I finally arrived, the ocean shimmered deceptively calm under the midday sun. I felt the familiar pull of the floating house. It didn't look any different, but I knew now that it was more than I had ever imagined. That's when I saw it, a movement in the waves, something shifting. My heart sank. Someone was in the house. My breath caught in my throat as I squinted at the house. The sunset painted it in fading hues of orange and pink, but something darker lurked around its edges. I took a hesitant step toward the water's edge, drawn by a mix of fear and curiosity. I had always found solace in the ocean. The sound of waves crashing against the shore used to make me feel at home. Now every crash felt like a warning.
I wrestled with the impulse to turn back, but the sight of something, moving inside that house kept me rooted in place. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice shaky against the stillness. The figure paused, and a rush of adrenaline coursed through me. Was it a person? Could they be trapped? I steadied my breathing and prepared to call again. Just then, the waves swelled, and I caught a glimpse of what looked like a hand pressed against the window. It was pale, almost ghostly. Instinct took over, and before I knew it, I was wading into the water, the surf tugging at my ankles. "Hey!" I yelled, splashing as I moved closer. The current swirled around me, almost as if trying to pull me back to the shore. I fought against it, desperation fueling my steps. The house loomed nearer, and with it I could see the detail of the figure inside, a shadowy silhouette darting past the window, vanishing from sight. My heart raced. Who were they? What were they doing there? I reached the edge of the house, water lapping around my waist. It looked so much more foreboding up close. Dark wood, its paint peeling away like layers of history. The windows were grimy, I couldn't see through the glass. Then I noticed something strange. The closer I got, the more the vibrations pulsed through the water. It wasn't just the gentle push of the waves, there was a rhythm, a low hum resonating beneath me. I remembered what Sarah had mentioned about the sonar findings. This couldn't be a coincidence. I leaned against the side of the house, trying to catch my breath and discern what was happening. The sound swelled, wrapping around me like a blanket. It felt alive, almost sentient. I pressed my ear against the wood, hoping to hear more. The world around me faded, the ocean's whispers so loud I couldn't think. Just then, a door creaked open with a groan that made me jump. I tried to pull back, but curiosity held me in place. The figure stepped out onto the small balcony, and my stomach dropped. It was a woman, drenched in shadows, her eyes piercing through the dusk. "Help me," she cried. Then her face shifted, not in fear but in something colder. Before I could process the warning in her tone, the figure inside the house rushed forward, and everything went black as the door slammed shut. I stumbled back, nearly losing my balance in the water. It felt like I had plunged into an abyss. "Wait!" I shouted, feeling my heart drum in my chest. But the house was silent once more, the mystery deepening. Questions swarmed my mind. What kind of help did you need? And why did that figure look angry? As I splashed back to the shore, the sense of dread washed over me. I had stepped into something much darker than I had expected, and now I was in deeper than ever. I stood on the shore, the salty breeze cooling my damp skin. My mind raced, piecing together fragments of what just happened. The woman, the figure inside, the way the door slammed shut like a prison cell.
I wanted to scream or cry or throw something into the sea. Instead, I just stared at the house, a dark silhouette against the fading light. As the last rays of sun dipped below the horizon, a shroud of darkness enveloped the place. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching me, waiting. My feet felt rooted in the sand, yet deep down, I knew I couldn't leave things as they were. I took a tentative step back toward the water. The waves rolled in rhythm, beckoning me closer. There had to be something more to uncover. Bravery and foolishness battled within me, but I dismissed the fear that threatened to squeeze my chest. Once again, I waded through the cold water. This time, I approached with determination. The hum beneath the surface grew louder, vibrating through my bones. I reached the edge of the porch and saw the plaster beneath the railing chipped and faded, revealing dark wood underneath. Something glinted in the shadows next to the door. I stretched my arm, reaching for it, my fingers brushing against what felt like a small, smooth stone. Picking it up, I discovered words etched into its surface. They were crude but legible. "Leave now," it read. My stomach dropped. Who had put this here, and why? The low hum intensified, filling my ears, drowning out my thoughts. The stone slipped from my grasp, falling back into the water. Panic surged. I should have run, but I shoved the fear aside. I heard a noise, distinct even over the crash of the waves.
A soft creak from the door. A moment later, the door opened again, but no one stepped out. Hesitation gripped me. Perhaps it was a trick of the evening shadows, but I couldn't shake the feeling someone was watching. "Hello?" I called out again, this time more tentative. My heart raced as I inched toward the entrance. The shadows looked deeper now, the frame of the door almost swallowing the light. Another creak echoed, but I could see nothing. Why were they just watching? I didn't want to be another victim of whatever shadows lingered there. But what if I turned around and the woman was gone? Suddenly I heard footsteps inside, heavy and slow, almost dragging. I didn't want to be there when whatever it was emerged. I stumbled back, water splashing as I turned and ran. The weight of dread settled over me again, a shroud I couldn't shake. I reached the beach, gasping for breath. Somehow my mind kept circling back to the message on that stone. Leave now. It was a warning, but from whom? And why did it feel like a command I couldn't ignore? My eyes drifted back toward the house as I caught my breath. In the dim light, a figure stood in the door, watching me. This time I didn't hesitate. I took off running. I had to find help. I couldn't face this alone. I needed to know what was in that house, but even more, I needed to understand why it was pulling me back in. The next morning, I woke up with a gnawing need for answers.
My sleep had been restless, haunted by images of that house and the figure that had watched me, their intention unclear, yet deeply unsettling. I needed to talk to someone, anyone who might know about the house or its past. That place felt like it was alive, breathing down my neck with secrets buried beneath the sand. I decided to head to the local diner. It was a hub of chatter and rumor, and I hoped to find someone who could shed light on this mystery. As I walked the familiar streets, I noticed how bright everything seemed. The sun filtered through the trees, casting playful shadows, but my mind remained clouded with fear. When I stepped inside the diner, the smell of pancakes and coffee enveloped me, grounding my racing thoughts. I spotted the waitress, Marla, who had served me countless times before. I took a seat at the counter, unable to ignore the flutter in my stomach. "Good morning, honey. The usual?" she asked with a warm smile. I shook my head, gripping the edges of the counter. "Actually, I need to ask you something. Do you know anything about that old house by the shore, the one that looks like it's about to collapse?" Marla raised an eyebrow, her expression shifting. "You mean the Holloway place? Everyone knows its legend. Some say it's haunted." "Haunted?" I felt my heart race. "Why?" She leaned in closer, her voice low. "People say a woman died there years ago, right after she lost her child. The rumors say she still wanders the property, searching for something. Most folks avoid it because strange things happen. Lights flicker, doors open on their own. It's best to keep your distance." I swallowed hard. Her words echoed everything I had felt the night before. "And what about the figure I saw? Someone was in the doorway." "That's just more of the legend," she replied, waving a hand dismissively. "Probably just a trick of the light. But if you saw something, maybe it's a sign to stay away." But instinct urged me forward. I found something there, a stone with a message. "Leave now." Do you think that's connected? Marla's eyes widened slightly. "That's not good. Someone might be trying to warn you. You need to be careful." The weight of her words settled on me, but I could feel my determination rising. I had to return. I had to understand what was happening and why it had pulled me to that house. As I left the diner, the air felt thicker. Maybe the warnings were true, but I couldn't ignore the need to uncover the truth. I walked back to the beach, the sun high above, a stark contrast to the shadows I felt lurking behind me. When I reached the shore, the house stood there, just as I remembered. But something was different. I noticed movement by the door. A flash of white slipped inside. That's when I saw it, a glimmer of light through the battered windows. Something inside was responding to me. An answer was waiting. I stepped closer, taking a deep breath, determined to confront whatever lay within. But even as I moved, a cold dread washed over me. What if the shadows were more than just stories? What if they were real? I walked cautiously toward the house, each step feeling heavier than the last. The glimmer in the window flickered, and I paused, pressing my palm against the cool surface of the battered wall. The wood felt damp, almost alive, and I held my breath. There it was again, the flash of light, urging me forward. I pushed the door open with a creak, the hinges protesting loudly. The air inside was stale, thick with dust and unspoken memories. Sunlight streamed through the cracks in the walls, illuminating particles dancing in the air. The room was empty, save for the remnants of a past life, a tattered sofa, a broken chair, and an old coffee table that lay tilted. "Hello?" I called out, my voice echoing like a distant whisper. Nothing, just silence and the soft sound of the waves crashing outside. I stepped further in, my heart pounding in my ears. Maybe the figure I saw hadn't been a trick of the light. Maybe they were still here. My eyes were drawn to a staircase in the corner, its steps leading upward into darkness. I hesitated, but knew I couldn't leave without knowing what was up there. I had to confront this mystery head-on. I climbed the stairs slowly, the old wood creaking beneath my weight. Every sound made me jump, my pulse quickening. As I reached the top, a chill ran down my spine. The hallway stretched before me, dim and narrow, with several doors lining either side. I approached the first door on my left, feeling an odd pull toward it. My hand trembled as I grasped the doorknob, half expecting it to turn itself. With a deep breath, I pushed the door open. It creaked slowly, revealing a small bedroom, untouched by time. Dust motes floated in the air, and the faint scent of lavender lingered. On the bed lay a quilt, neatly folded, and on the nightstand, a small music box that looked as if it hadn't been touched in years. I stepped inside, curiosity burning away my fear. As I reached for the music box, a sudden chill washed over me, freezing me in place. The air thickened, and a voice, soft yet urgent, echoed through the room. "Leave now." I whipped around, the shadow of movement barely catching my eye. There, at the end of the hall, stood the figure, dressed in white, features obscured, yet the presence was undeniable. The warning rang clear. I was not alone. Panic surged through me. I stumbled back, my legs nearly giving out as I turned to flee. Just as I reached the staircase, the lights flickered violently, plunging the hallway into darkness. My pulse raced as every instinct screamed for me to run, but as I tore down the stairs, the voice called again, more insistent this time. "Help me." I paused, the words washing over me like a wave. Who was this figure? What did it want? The question burned in my mind as I hesitated in the doorway, heart hammering in my chest.
Then came a sound, sharp and sudden. A crash from upstairs. I had to decide, run and escape the terror, or investigate and uncover the truth. The choice hovered before me, heavy and ominous. I could already feel the weight of what was at stake. I knew I couldn't just walk away. That house had drawn me in for a reason, and now a new urgency crept into my veins. What had I gotten myself into? I took a step back inside, ready to face whatever lay ahead. I stood there frozen, grappling with conflicting impulses. The darkness felt like a living thing, wrapping around me as the echoes of the crash lingered in my ears. "Help me," the voice beckoned, soft but relentless. My heart raced, but my curiosity outweighed my fear. I took a deep breath and turned away from the door. Back in the dim hallway, I felt the chill settle deeper into my bones. With shaky steps, I approached the stairs again, aware that the figure could still be there. Determined, I climbed slowly, my hand brushing against the banister, feeling its rough texture beneath my fingers. As I reached the second floor, the air rumbled as if the house itself was alive, protesting my presence. I peered into the darkness, searching for the faintest hint of movement. "Hello," I whispered, but only silence answered me back. I moved toward the source of the crash, the last door at the end of the hall. Before I could reach it, the floor creaked, and I spun around. My heart leaped into my throat. I had seen a flicker of white, definitely more substantial than a shadow this time. It darted back into the room I had just left. My breath caught. Something compelled me forward. I steeled myself as I approached the door with cautious determination. The handle felt cold, sending a jolt up my arm as I twisted it. It swung open smoothly, revealing the room bathed in soft light once more. But it no longer felt inviting. The music box sat open on the nightstand, the soft tinkle of its song filling the air. I remembered it being closed, untouched. My pulse raced. "What is going on?" I murmured to myself as I stepped inside, the floorboards creaking underfoot. As I glanced around, a strange haze settled over the entire space. My eyes were drawn to the bed where the quilt had shifted. Was it just my imagination, or had something lay there, unseen? Then I saw it, a small, crumpled bout, placed beside the music box. I reached for it, my hands trembling. The words were faint, almost illegible, but one phrase stood out. Find me. Suddenly the lights flickered again, and the room darkened. My heart thundered in my ears as the chill returned, wrapping around me like a shroud. The door slammed shut, and I whirled around. Panic surged within me as the music shifted, the notes turning frantic. Help me, the voice came again, sending chills straight to my core. I pressed my back against the wall, unsure of what to do. I couldn't see the figure now, but I could feel its presence. Close. Too close. That's when I saw it.
A flash of white drifted through the shadow, and a sudden rush of air nearly knocked me over. I took a cautious step forward, my heart racing faster. The voice was urgent, almost pleading. Help! But what did it mean? What did it really want from me? I felt the weight of the note in my hand, and with a mix of fear and adrenaline, I made my decision. I would find out who or what was trapped here. I had to know the truth. Then the room fell silent, and everything went dark. In the suffocating darkness, I stood frozen. The silence was deafening, heavier than the air itself. I tried to steady my breathing, to convince myself this was all just a bad dream. But the chill in the air and the lingering echo of that desperate voice told me otherwise. I fumbled for my phone, praying the light would cut through the dark. My fingers trembled as I turned on the flashlight. The beam pierced the gloom, illuminating the room in a weak yellow glow. Dust motes danced in the light, making everything feel even more surreal. I focused on the music box, still playing its frantic tune. "What happened to you?" I whispered, hoping for some answer. The note was still clenched in my hand, its message echoing in my mind. Find me. My heart raced as I scanned the room again. I had to find whatever was causing this. Just then, a movement caught my eye. A shadow flickered near the closet door. I jerked my head toward it, my heart hammering in my chest. I took a cautious step forward, the floor creaking ominously beneath me. As I approached, I felt a draft, cool and unsettling, creeping through the room. I reached for the closet door, gripping the cold handle with sweaty palms. My instinct screamed at me to turn back, to run, but I couldn't. I had to know what lay inside. I pulled the door open. The closet was empty, at least at first glance. Just a few old coats and some discarded shoes. I rifled through them quickly, pushing aside the dusty garments. That's when I noticed a small, frayed fabric peeking out from the back corner. I pulled it free and gasped. It was a child's dress, tattered and faded with age. Hand-stitched flowers adorned the hem, and it felt strangely familiar. I couldn't shake the feeling I had seen it somewhere before. My mind raced with questions. Whose dress was this? Was it connected to the voice? As I turned it over, I spotted another note tucked in a pocket. My heart sank. With trembling hands, I opened it. I'm waiting for you. Don't be afraid. What did that mean? I felt a rush of dread, but I couldn't turn back now. Something big was happening here, something I needed to unravel. Suddenly, the music box stopped. The silence that followed felt alive, and a shiver ran down my spine. I was not alone. I could feel someone watching me. Just as I backed away, the lights flickered back on, momentarily blinding me. I squinted into the brightness, and then everything froze. The figure was standing at the foot of the bed, a vague outline in white. I couldn't breathe. The voice came again, but it was different now. You found me. 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. Who was this? What did it want? And before I could react, the figure began to move toward me. That's when I knew I was in deep trouble. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. The figure glided closer, its outline becoming clearer in the harsh fluorescent light. It was a girl, but her face was shrouded in shadows. She reached out a hand, a gesture both inviting and terrifying. "Please, don't be scared," she said, her voice soft and echoing, as if coming from a great distance. "I just want to talk." I stumbled backward, my heart racing. "What do you want from me?" I managed to choke out. Every nerve screamed for me to run, but the weight of her gaze held me steady. "I need your help," she said, her voice now laced with urgency. "You're the only one who can find me." My mind raced. "Find you? You're right in front of me." I wanted to shake her, to demand answers.
Instead, I was glued to the spot, unable to comprehend what was happening. "Please," she stepped closer, her dress swaying with her movement. "I'm stuck here. I've been waiting for someone to remember." The words sank in, heavy and suffocating. I felt a wave of unresolved emotions crash over me: fear, curiosity, and a strange sense of longing. "Remember what? Who are you?" I asked, feeling the weight of her eyes on me, searching. She paused, her expression shifting, sadness taking over. "The last summer, Her voice trailed off, and for a moment, the air felt thick with her unspoken past. Then, like a gust of wind, she blinked out of sight, leaving an empty space where she had been standing. The silence returned, but it felt different now. I had to know what she meant. I had to remember. I turned back to the closet, adrenaline fueling my desperation. I needed more answers. I began pulling out the old clothes again, tossing them aside, searching for something hidden among the layer of dust and forgotten memories. Just then, my hand brushed against something cold and smooth. I pulled it out. It was another music box, but this one was decorated with images of a young girl playing in a sunny field. With a trembling hand, I opened it. A gentle melody began to play, lighter, almost cheerful, compared to the frantic tune from the other box. As the notes filled the air, the girl's figure flickered back into view, her eyes wide and bleeding. "You have to help me finish it. The song, it's not over." "What do you mean?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. "How can I help you?" "Find the rest of the notes," she whispered urgently, "before it's too late." Suddenly, the lights flickered once more, dimming to almost nothing. Panic surged through me. "Wait, what do you mean?" But her voice faded into the darkness, and as the last note echoed away, the chilling silence swallowed me once again. I couldn't stay here.
I needed to leave, to find the answer she was asking for. But just as I turned to escape, the closet door slammed shut behind me. I spun around, heart racing, and realized I was trapped in a place filled with shadows that wanted to keep me. I was completely surrounded, and I didn't know if I'd ever get out. I stood there, heart pounding, as panic clawed at my throat. The realization that I was trapped in this forsaken house with its memories and ghosts sent a shiver down my spine. The closet felt like it was closing in, each shadow whispering secrets I couldn't hear, engulfing me in its suffocating darkness. "Help me," the girl's voice echoed in my mind, a haunting melody intertwined with the song from the music box. Desperation surged within me. I knew I couldn't let fear control me. I had to find a way out and find the notes she spoke of. Taking a deep breath, I cast around the dim space, searching for anything that might lead me closer to the truth. The walls felt alive. The house was breathing with unseen memories. I grasped the doorknob and twisted it, but it wouldn't budge. A low hum emanated from the walls, vibrating beneath my fingertips. Was this part of the song she mentioned? I turned back to the other objects scattered in the room. The first music box remained open, its frantic tune still playing, while the other sat quietly beside it, awaiting my touch. I picked up the second box again, feeling a strange connection pull me in. As I turned it over, I spotted something stuck to the bottom, a small slip of paper. I pried it free and read the words, barely there but clear enough to see. "Find the echoes." Confusion washed over me. Echoes? What could that mean? It felt like a puzzle, tantalizingly close, yet just out of reach. "Find me," the girl's voice urged in my ear, and I instinctively glanced towards the window. Darkness loomed outside, swallowing the last remnants of light. Shadows shifted, and I sensed that something was approaching. I was running out of time. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from downstairs, shaking the house and breaking my fragile concentration. The door rattled again, but still it wouldn't yield. I gathered my courage, letting adrenaline push my fear aside. "Help!" I shouted, desperation creeping through my voice. But deep down, I knew shouting was futile. No one would hear me. I had to trust my instincts. To find the echoes,
I needed to take a risk. In a moment of clarity, I touched the music box again, feeling its smooth surface beneath my fingertips. I turned the winding key. The familiar tune started to play, the music tugging at my soul, beckoning me to dance within the notes. And then it happened. The air shifted, thickening around me as I felt something change. The shadows lengthened, and I realized the music resonated with something very deep within this house. What if the echoes were tied to the very essence of this place?
Perhaps what I needed wasn't just a way out, but a way back, in time, to whatever was lost. I closed my eyes and focused, visualizing the house beyond my fears. I envisioned those echoes, the memories of joy and sorrow wrapped up in this broken structure. "Show me," I whispered, allowing the music to guide me. The vibrations intensified, filling the room and washing over me in an irresistible wave. Suddenly, I was not alone. The girl reappeared, standing before me, shimmering like morning mist. Her eyes were filled with urgency. "Play the song," she urged, her voice barely above a whisper. "Finish it, and I will show you." I couldn't respond, just nodded. I took a deep breath and continued to turn the key of the music box. The notes soared through the room, intertwining with my thoughts, flowing like a river. In that moment, everything melted away. The darkness receded, and I was transported. The echoes enveloped me, revealing memories not just of the house, but of a life once lived within its walls. I saw moments, the girl playing, laughing, dancing, and then the shadows of sorrow creeping in, as loss tainted the light. The music wrapped around me, and I could hear her voice clearly, guiding me. "Find the last note," she urged, her presence fading as a blinding light filled the space. The echoes cascaded around me, lost and found, until I understood. I opened my eyes, still standing in that dimly lit room, but now I held the pieces. I didn't feel trapped. I felt empowered. The echoes were alive, and they were waiting for me to finish their story. The door burst open as a gust of wind swept through, carrying the last remnants of the darkness away. I stepped forward, no longer afraid, feeling that whatever I faced next was a part of the answer I sought. The house whispered its secrets as I moved out into the fading twilight, determined to unveil its mystery once and for all. I didn't know much, but one thing was clear. Whatever shadows lingered here were not merely curses, they were memories. Parts of a life yet to be uncovered, intertwined with mine in ways I could never have imagined. And with that, I took a step toward the light beyond, ready to confront what lay ahead. Whether it was natural or supernatural, I could not say. But I was alive, and the echoes were finally calling me home. In some strange way, I could feel the girl smiling from somewhere deep within the shadows, waiting for me to finish what we had started.